you were here when Trevor was talking about how special he feels you guys are and your goals and all that stuff. Playing the number 2 team in the country this week, how much of a measuring stick do you feel like this is for the program this year?
I think it's a pretty big test for us, especially at this point of the season. And I think with how well we did in the preseason and then now coming into, we just played St. Mary's, and now we're going to play Gonzaga, and then we're going to play San Francisco, like 3 legit basketball games. I think it's going to be a huge test of kind of where we are mentally as a team, and then just kind of how we are all, our chemistry and how we play together and how we kind of get through some of that adversity. Because, I mean, Gonzaga is one of the best teams in the country. And so there's going to be times in the game where we're going to be frustrated or things aren't going our way. So I think it's going to help tell a lot about who we are as a team in some of those times of when things aren't going our way. And so I think having these games right now, I think are going to be a huge statement to help us track in a positive direction the rest of the season.
Obviously, when you were at Wasatch Academy, with the schedule that those guys play, national big games, you would know what it's like to be in a big game at that level. Would you say that this game coming up, maybe for your personal career, is the biggest so far?
Yeah, it's one of them. I think it's no question of, I don't think I'm playing how I've been wanting to play. I think there's been moments of the season where I've been pretty good, and there's been moments where I haven't really asserted myself in ways that I really want to. And so I think this will be a big game, just to kind of get everyone's confidence and to go and play a tough number 2 team in the country and to kind of give it all you got and then to benchmark yourself of where you are, and I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to be fun for us as a team, as a program, as a university. Everyone hates Gonzaga, so it's fun to go play them.
Trevor was just talking about the intensity of the St. Mary's game. What do you think the biggest takeaway from that win over St. Mary's is going into Gonzaga?
I think that we're a really tough team, and I think we're just going to continue to show that. St. Mary's, every time we play St. Mary's, at least that was my 3rd time playing them, it's always weird. It's just a strange, slow pace, weird technical game, low scoring. And so I think those games really tell a lot about character and a team. And I think we meshed really well together and played really hard, and it kind of showed hey, look, we're here to do this. So.
Obviously St. Mary's has a pretty slow offensive pace. Felt like you guys took advantage of that to kind of disrupt them on offense, let you guys get settled in on defense a bit more. Gonzaga plays much more high tempo. What are you working on in practice to maybe match that?
Transition defense. We're working on Gonzaga's fast. I mean, they scored 117 points the other night. That's hard to do in a game. So I think for us, it's all going to be about speed, pace, and then physicality. If we can keep certain guys from getting catches, if we can make sure that we're back in transition on defense and we're not giving up easy layups around the rim, whatever we can take away from them that's easy and make things harder for them, to score the basketball, whatever it is, I think is going to be really big for us in order to win this game.
You kind of look like coaches and players were mimicking Drew Timme and Chet Holmgren. What does that preparation look like for you in particular?
I think it's just all about toughness, and I think being alert to where these guys are on the floor and where they're going to be moving and limiting them getting the ball is going to ultimately help us win that game. Because the less they can touch the ball and the less we can put these guys in positions to make plays, the better we're going to be off.
Okay, when you mentioned maybe you're looking to assert yourself a little bit more, is that more on the offensive end or just all around in your game?
I'd say a little bit of both. Yeah, I mean, of course, the offensive end, but I think everything else will kind of feed towards that. Making plays on the defensive end, getting steals in transition, all that stuff I think will help me and the team just get going.
What do you feel you got to do to make sure that you're asserting yourself this weekend?
I would say just intensity and then just kind of relaxing, having a little bit of sense of peace and fun out on the floor. We play this game to have fun, and I think sometimes guys take it a little bit too seriously and can kind of get their mind off in all sorts of ways. But I think if we just go in, we have fun, I mean, we work as hard as we can, it's going to be a really, really cool game to be part of, especially at their place. It'll be fun.
What makes Drew Timme such a difficult matchup?
He's just super crafty. I mean, watching film of guys and playing him last year, there's all sorts of times where he'll have the ball and you think you have him guarded, but he makes some move, whatever it is, multiple moves, and he's able to get where he wants to and finish to the rim. And I think it's going to be huge for us to limit that. So if we can limit that, I think we're going to be all right.
How was your role changed with the injuries to Richard and Gavin, and has that played a role at all, and you wanted to be more assertive or anything like that?
It's played a little bit of a role. I think there's been certain times in the season where I've been put in spots where I'm not 100% comfortable with, but I think at the end of the day, I'm here just to help win games, and if I can be put in a spot to help these guys win, I'm going to do it. So.
How do you feel the chemistry is maybe between you and Foose in that front court? It feels, the last few games you guys have been the mainstays at a 4 and 5 spot.
It's been fun. I mean, this is my third year playing with Foose. I played with Foose in high school, so I mean, it's always a pleasure to share the floor with him. But I think if me and Foose can be a force continually throughout the season on the glass and on the defensive end of the floor, and just kind of us helping each other and talking to the rest of the team, being that 4 and 5 kind of anchor for some of these guards, I think it can be a huge help, and it'll help us win a lot of games.
You mentioned your prior experience playing with Foose. I'm curious, how would you describe him as a person? You've known him for a few years now. Like,
Yeah.
what is he like on the court, off the court?
Foose is one of the best dudes you meet. Every time I see Foose, somehow I have a smile on my face afterward. I don't know, he's just a bright presence in our team and in our locker room, and I mean, we're blessed to have him. His story's awesome, coming from a country that none of us really even understand or where he grew up, and so for him to be playing basketball at BYU with us and kind of bringing that light and energy to our team is really special.
How's he different from that kid that showed up in Mount Pleasant that you guys kind of welcomed into the locker room to him now? Because coaches like to tell us about how much he's growing and how he's getting better and he's being thrown into the fire and everything. Can you see kind of the difference in him?
Yeah, I just think he's become super confident, and I think he really, really cares and has put forth his heart and effort into this team, and it shows. And he's been a blessing for our team, and to know him as a basketball player and a person has been awesome.
You mentioned Gonzaga's speed of play, obviously. How much, when you're like looking at film, when you're thinking back, hey, this is actually a really fast team, how much you sort of like looking inward at your own conditioning, personally and as a team, and like, is there anything that you guys have been doing that can at least help conditioning a little bit more so you can kind of stay with the fast pace? Does that make sense?
I mean, the last few days of practice have been strictly on transition defense, I guess. So kind of keeping up with their pace on defense and making sure we don't give up those easy layups. So I would say, I mean, we're conditioned. We know how to do it. We just have to have the mindset of going and doing it. So I say just kind of as a team commitment, if we all come together, like we know what we have to do. We practiced it. We've watched film for hours. We've done everything. Like we're prepared. We just have to go out there and do it.
Last year's games against Gonzaga were put together on the fly. Do you feel like with having a full week, do you guys feel more prepared to go into the kennel and compete?
Yes, and I think just from a team standpoint, everyone I think understands what they're getting themselves into, especially some of our leaders on this team, and even the guys that didn't play last year, I think have a sense of how hard this game is and how fast it is and how intense it is, and so I think it's gonna be a really fun one. I'm looking forward to it. I think the rest of the team's looking forward to it too.
Chet Holmgren's kind of a unique player. What do you see from him on film, and kind of what is the scouting report on how to deal with him?
He's just super long. He makes plays. We got to limit his catches on the defensive end of the floor. And then it's just going to be a team effort on defense. I mean, kind of like we always are. Loud talk. We got to have help from each other. And I think communication is going to be a big key for this game.
Speaking on that length, how important will it be for a guy like a Tiki defensively for you guys? Played well against St. Mary's, two long teams. How important will he be?
Yeah, I think he had really great minutes last game. I think he will continue to do that. Tiki's super long, he's super athletic, and he's committed to doing what we need him to do in order to win. So.
With the way that practices have been, intense, hours of film study, obviously this game is a big game for the program in the season. But you mentioned that, like, sometimes it's just better to try and have fun, right? Like, how do you think that, like, the element of joy in a game like this can maybe turn the tide for you guys?
Kind of like I said, I think these games, there's going to be tons of frustration. I mean, Coach talks about it all the time. There's going to be points of this game where I think guys get twisted up and things aren't going our way or whatever. So I think as a team, if we can keep that sense of kind of joy and just having fun and doing what we know we can do, like the way we've practiced and the preparation we've put in, I think that kind of will help us to keep going, and that'll help us push through some of those moments because, I mean, this game isn't going to be perfect. We're not going to play perfect as a team, and so if we can just continue to have fun and do the things that we know what to do, we're going to be fine.